Oh, I about forgot. I want you to tell about how you girls worked on the farm and so forth.
Oh,
Since your folks didn't have any boys and you had that big farm out there,
yeah.
tell us about that.
Well, Dad had a good-sized farm and no sons, and so we girls had to help on the farm, whatever needed doing. And I remember having to ride the harrows. It was had over 4 horses that you had to drive on that,
Now let me
and there was
explain.
no place to sit down on it. He just had a board fixed across it, and you stood on the board and all day harrowing. And
Let me explain. I'm sure there will be few of your posterity that will even know what a harrow is. They talk about harrowing experiences.
oh,
this is what this is. When they would first plow the fields to prepare for planting, they would plow, and the plow would turn up big clods. And then there was this device that had all these long pronged teeth that stuck down underneath it. A big platform with all these pronged teeth sticking down. And the horses would drag this over the big clods that were all plowed up, and it would break them all up and fairly well smooth it out for planting. And so that was step 2. The last step would be to drag just like a big old platform with no teeth on it to kind of level and get it really level for planting. But the harrowing was something that they would do, and Anna would drive 4 horses to pull this big harrow. Tell us about it.
well, it's like you said, it was 4-horse hitch, and you'd have to go back and forth across the field. And when you got to the end, of course, you'd have to turn to go back, and that always worried me because I was afraid maybe when the horses would get their leg across their tug, that was part of their harness, and then I wouldn't know how to get that fixed, and so I worried from one end of the field to the other.
What other kind of farm chores can you remember doing?
Oh, well, I used to rake the hay, if anybody knows what raking hay was, with an old dump rake. And we either had 2 horses on it or sometimes just one.
Now, first, the reason they had to rake, first they would go with a mowing machine. The horses would pull, and to the side, this cutter that would cut the hay down, and so then it was all cut and laying down on the field. And to be able to gather it all up, the first thing they'd do is go around with a rake that was pulled by horses, a big rake that would draw hay up behind it. And then you'd have to trip it. When it got it full, then you'd have to trip it so that it would leave that little pile, and then they'd drag till they got another pile, and so they'd pile all the hay in these little piles with this big rake device that was on wheels dragged by horses. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so you'd ride there. There was a seat. You didn't have to stand up like you did on the harrows.
No, I could sit on that.
But that took some strength after it would pull together the rake. These big tines would pull all this hay up into a bunch, and then you'd have to trip it so the tines would raise up over that bunch, and then drop back down to start raking in the next little swath, right?
That's right.
Wasn't that kind of hard job to trip the tines, or?
Well, no, but you had to hang on because, it'd. Well, you didn't have your foot wasn't stable at that time,
Oh,
So, but anyway, I made it.
well, that's amazing. And then you'd milk cows.
Yeah, then we milk cows.
That's where the revenue came from, was selling the milk, right?
Yeah.
All that farming of the wheat and the grain and the hay, the end result was to provide feed for the cows so that they could provide milk, and you sell it, and you had all that milking to do.
Yeah.
And what kind of a milking machine did you have?
Just 2 hands.
And how many cows would you milk before you'd go to school?
Well, I remember when I went to high school, I was Dad usually wanted to keep about 24 cows, and there were 4 of us to milk those cows. You divide that by 4, and that's 6, isn't it?
Wow.
Sometimes there'd be a little bit less because some of them might be dried out, but anyway, we'll say from 4 to 6 cows every night and morning.
Wow. How long would that take to milk the cows?
Well, you'd have to plan on at least 10 minutes per cow. At least that.
So what time would you get up and go to?
6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh,
We had to be ready by 8 to go to school.
and that took a little work to
Yeah, that took a little work and
a little bit of perfume, I would imagine, to get ready for school.
sometimes I think maybe we had Corral number 5 on us when we went to school.
Corral number 5. Wow.
Yeah. But,
Of course, all the boys knew what that smell
but
was.
the year that I came along 3 years later than my sister, just older than me, and she and my oldest sister were in the same year of high school. So they graduated, let's see, they graduated when I was a freshman in high school. Well, then the next year they went to college. I was a sophomore then. And we still had that many cows.
Oh my gosh.
And Mother said she wanted the girls, Harriet and Wilma, to go to school so bad, to college, that she said she would help Dad and I milk the cows. So divide that by 3, and that makes about 8 cows apiece.
Oh my gosh. Then if somebody got sick, I don't know.
And if Mother was sick, it was 12 apiece for Dad and I.
How did your hands hold up? I mean, that squeezing those udders was a big, hard job to milk all
it
those
was,
cows.
But we got used to it, and we did it, and so that was kind of hard when it got to that many.
Yeah. Makes you pity the tough life that these kids have to go through nowadays, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. If they had some of that to do, maybe they wouldn't have gotten mischief.
I don't imagine there was a lot of mischief to be gotten into out there in the winter.
Well, we didn't have time for any of that.
Well, thanks.